Okay, we've got a Neff integrated washer dryer. I think this particular model is a FD9510. I think they're all quite similar. So the dryer is no longer pumping hot air, and that will be because inside there's a channel that heats up and blows hot air through, and once that fills with fluff and the sensor detects that it's overheating, it's got a cut-off switch that's actually inside the tunnel. So I've had to pull the machine out and start taking the top off. Okay, so I've taken the top off. You'll need probably a screwdriver set. That's the nut head that I've had to use to get the top off. And basically this is the channel that the hot air goes through, and this is the blower. And we're going to take this bit off here first, and we'll see what's under there. A couple of things to mention. Make sure the power's off. I've switched mine off with the fuse, and I've checked that I'm getting no lights at all, everything like that. You could also switch it off with the plug. Now, having done something similar before, I've stuffed all the open areas with a tea towel or a bit of kitchen roll, and basically that is to prevent, when you take these out, if you happen to drop them and they go inside the machine, it's a mission to get them back out again. So just done that to prevent that. What I would say to you is make sure you take all this out, because if you put it all back together again and turn it on with this on, you'll probably have a fire on your hands. Okay, so I've loosened all the bolts here, all the way around to the back, here, and across this cross beam. And what I do is I organise them in the pattern that they've come out. So these are the top cover, and then these are the inside here, and then going across there. Okay, I've just loosened this a bit. I'm not going to disconnect anything because I don't need to, because I'll have enough room to lift this up and move it out. Right, so I've now sort of folded this over, and you can see at the back here there's like an insulation, so you just got to be careful with that you don't damage it or anything like that. So I'm just going to pull that off, and we'll put that back in place. Before we put this all back together, we'll make sure that's back in where it should be, and then it sits back where it should be. Now what you can see here is it's got some fluff in it. You can see a little bit burnt there, but the sensor that we're looking at is actually here. Okay, and what happens is this gets clogged up, and you can see this a little bit burnt around here, and it triggers the sensor, which is good. You don't want the place catching fire. Now on the back of that sensor you can see this little, it's like a little red button there. So what we're going to do is we're going to clean all this out. And there's bits of fluff down here. It's not quite as bad as I've seen it before, and there's fluff down here. It's worth taking your time to clear all of this out. You might need a little scraper or something like that. You don't want to touch the element or anything like that, but you just want to try and clean between it because it's actually double layered. You want to get lumps of crud like that out, and then we'll push that back in. That should reset the sensor, and then we'll have a look at the fan. Right, so I've pulled all that out, and I've scraped all this off, and I'm going to get a hoover and hoover this all out. I've scraped all that clean. Notice down here on this side here there's like another, I think that's another sensor that was sort of covered in fluff, so I gently cleaned that off as well and just made sure there was nothing else down here. I mean, this is basically what you can, from the inside of the machine, you can kind of feel up into here, so that's where the air blows down through into the machine. Okay, right, so now what we're going to try and do is press this button. Hopefully we should hear it click. Excellent. Okay, basically inside that sensor is like a a metal disc that when it overheats, it pops the wrong way to stop the contact. So basically you're just pressing that in to pop it back into place. And I've made sure I've cleaned that area, given that a good brush. I basically used a brush like this. I mean, this is just a glorified toothbrush basically. So go and buy a cheap toothbrush and then you can get in there. I'm gonna carry on. I think I'm gonna do a little bit more cleaning up. As I've got it open, there's no point leaving anything. Done a pretty good job. If you look onto the fan, let me move this out of the way. I've done this once before. You can see in the fan has got some bits in it. I've just sort of got the end of the hoover and kind of, you know, with that sort of extension on it, and tried to hoover that out and kind of spin with the end of the hoover. What I've found in the past is that looking at this, to get to this, you're going to have to take this whole section off, which goes about a quarter of the way down the back. It's about another 15, 16 screws. Then you've got to try and get this off. Yeah, it's a lot of extra work to get to that. So what I've done in the past is I have used with the set of screwdrivers heads, you get a pair of tweezers like that, and you can kind of get in there and you can kind of scrape it and grab it at the same time. So I'm going to do that as well. Right, I had a look at the fan and I did what I said I wasn't going to do, and I've taken the back section off, which I can't really show you that well, but this is how many more screws have come out, including the top bit here. There's one right in this back corner that you can't get to because that's in the way. So I've had to undo that. But just having a first inspection, you can see there's an awful lot of crap in here, and in here. So I'm pleased I did. I mean, that's the first time I've done this bit in 5 years, so we're going to give that a good clean out as well. But yeah, you need to be patient with that. You need to organise your screws so you know where they go back. It's all different lengths and stuff. Right, give that a good clean. Right, just to give you an idea of the amount of crud that's stuck in on the fans, this is where I've scraped the back of these fins where they're kind of curved over, so that all the stuff's gathering in the back of that curve. So I've scraped it all into the centre so I can hoover it all up. That's the pile I took out of this sort of area, and the outer edge here. I'm still going to give that a little bit more of a scrape, but yeah, I'm glad I've done this, because obviously with all the fins clogged up, it's probably affecting the whole overall airflow, and so the more that gets clogged up, the more likely it is that it's going to bring up more fluff, etc, etc. So yeah, I'm pleased I did that. Right, that's looking a bit better. Given that a little scrape and a hoover, cleaned all the fans out. I'll give that a little wipe over before we seal it all back up. That's looking a lot better, a lot cleaner. You've got this seal around the outside here. You've got to make sure you reposition that in the right place when you put it back together. This one here, there's a little indent here. I might switch that. It's pretty much stuck. I might leave that there. Right, so now comes the fun bit, trying to put it all back together. Right, put this back. Just a note here, there's a bit of like an elastic band there that you've just got to make sure you don't pinch when you come to the side. So you've almost got to slightly pull it out the way as you put that back in. And you want to just make sure that this is seated properly, so that seal, you can feel the seals in the right place. Just one thing to point out, on the back here there was a screw here that I had to unscrew first before I could get it off, because that connected to this. Okay, I unscrewed that. I don't think I really needed to, but okay. And now I've put this back in. It goes back in here. Okay, just to let you know, a lot of these internal screws are actually the 1.5 version of that fitting. Little tip for you. I've just been trying to get this back on and was sort of a bit troubled that it wasn't actually fitting flush to here, and couldn't quite understand it until I grabbed the bottom bit and pulled that up, and then it sits flush. So little tip for you there, when you're putting this back together, just especially this end, just squeeze things together. But all good. Start screwing it back together now. Right, finished screwing everything back together. I've just doing a quick visual to make sure everything's tight. The seals are down. So you want to check along here that there's no gap. Do that on both sides. All the screws are down on the struts, everything like that. On the back. Okay, you want to make sure you've removed anything like tea towels or bits of tissue in case you drop the screws, which I've checked and I have. What I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to power it back up and just let it run on tumble dry mode and just check that the fan's spinning and that this is getting hot. Right, put it on gentle dry. Hear the fan, sounds normal, so that's good. Obviously put that in the right place. Now, this will get hot. You've got the element under here. Trust me, that will get extremely hot. You can probably feel it through your worktop when it's on full heat. What I'm going to do is put my hand on here. I'm going to let it run for a little while and just make sure it's getting warm. Okay. I can start to feel this getting hot. And I'll just literally tap my hand on it. I can feel it's hot. And I'm starting to feel a bit of warmth on the glass. If I pause it and open it, yeah, I can feel the hot air blowing through. Excellent. We're fixed. Let's put it back together. Also, whilst you've got it out, it's worth cleaning out the filter. Okay, that's how you do it. You just use that to drain out the water, then you get in there and you clean that out. There's probably a couple of pound coins in there and some hair clips. In case you're wondering what this wooden construction is, basically because it's integrated, mine is actually mounted on wooden plinths, and last time I took it out, it took a hell of a lot of effort and strength to get it back up and in, because of the length of the pipes and where the drain is. These all have to be taped, pulled back through and taped onto the back around the bottom, and then this needs to be pushed back flat, and then the rest of it can be pulled through and put back together again. This is almost as difficult. Well, last time this was almost as difficult as fixing the problem. So yeah, this time I've built this sort of plinth to put it on. Hopefully with a bit of fairy liquid you can just get it to slide back in.